The assassination team, La Squadra Esecuzioni, or Execution Team in English, defected from the Italian mafia after being threatened by its leader for trying to expose his identity. The leader of the execution team is Risotto Nero, an ace assassin who can kill anyone, regardless of who they are. He is aided by his team, and also his incredibly powerful colony stand, Metallica. Welcome back to my stand analysis series, where I delve deep into as much detail about the ins and outs of a stand as possible. My aim is to eventually do an analysis on every stand within the anime and manga series, Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. I hope you will continue to follow me on this unique and educational adventure. Like the famous drummer Lars Ulrich, you too can bang the drums and create some pretty basic beats that don't have much variety to them. However, if you don't have any drums handy, give that subscribe button a bang instead to follow my future Jojo video releases and to keep up to date with my ongoing stand analysis series. I'm also on Twitter, so feel free to follow me at @BStarPlatinum as I post new videos there whenever they release. I also love to interact with viewers there, so feel free to comment on posts or tag me in things, whatever you want, and I'll try to get back to you. As always, if you haven't watched or read Part 5 Golden Wind yet, make sure you do so before watching this video, unless you simply don't care about spoilers, in which case you might as well carry on watching anyway. As I mentioned earlier, Metallica is a colony stand, which means that the stand manifests in the form of multiple units, similar to Harvest and Bad Company in Part 4 Diamond is Unbreakable. Metallica is rather different in the fact that the units do not manifest a form next to a body like stands such as Golden Experience or Star Platinum. The units of Metallica actually manifest within its user's body, being small enough to hide in great numbers within Risotto's bloodstream. If one of Risotto's limbs are damaged or severed, Metallica's units can be seen hanging out of the wound. The units manifest as small metallic-looking creatures that appear to have a horror theme. In my opinion, both their shape and their demeanor reminds me of a typical cartoon ghost, especially since their mouths are shaped like they're moaning, similar to a typical cartoon ghost design. Metallica's units all come in different sizes, some being bigger whilst some are so small you can't really make out their faces very easily. The bodies of all the units feature stitches and they are coloured silver in both the manga and the anime. The idea of Risotto's stand came from human cells and red blood cells. However, the appearance of the units was influenced by the Hattifatners from the Moomin series, according to Araki's comments in the Jojo Vela stand book. Metallica is quite obviously named after the famous thrash metal band of the same name, Metallica. This namesake also is the basis for the stand's ability of manipulating iron, which we will get to very soon. A few minutes ago, I mentioned that the stand's units act like cartoon ghosts and look like they're moaning. In the manga, the stand units moan the word load, which could also be a reference to the Metallica album of the same name. Other than its horror demeanor, Metallica does not feature any other distinct personality traits and follows Risotto's will loyally. Now we're going to talk about Risotto stand's main technique, iron manipulation. This technique allows the units of Metallica to freely manipulate the minuscule iron particles in the air, ground, and in an organism's body. Iron manipulation can only happen within a range of approximately 5 to 10 meters of Risotto's body. At first, it appears that Metallica's technique grants Risotto a paranormal ability, which means a stand user can activate an ability without any visible stand materializing. For example, take the Force from Star Wars. A wave of a hand from someone who is Force sensitive would affect the target in the way the Force user wants, such as being pushed, pulled, or having their mind manipulated. Yet there is no materialized being that represents the Force's power. This is what a phenomenon ability means. You cannot see any stand, but the user is able to activate their ability as if by some sort of magic. This appears to be the case for Risotto at the start of the fight with Doppio. However, as I stated earlier, Metallica actually does manifest in a visible form, however the units are small and reside within the bloodstream of Risotto, being unseen by enemies unless Risotto receives wounds or has limbs severed. This leaves his stand unknown to an enemy during combat until damage is done to Risotto. Then again, Risotto's stand grants him both offensive and defensive capabilities, which we'll explore in this segment of the video. Though Metallica can manipulate small particles of iron, it's not just as simple as that. What Metallica actually does is it utilizes the power of magnetism. This magnetism only works within the 5 to 10 meter range that I said earlier, and due to Metallica's units' small stature, each of them only has so much power. Their power of magnetism combined is strong enough to freely manipulate the tiny iron particles in its range with no problem. It's also strong enough to move heavier iron objects within its range and launch them at high speeds with negative magnetism. The North Pole side of a magnet attracts the South Pole side of magnets, sticking them together, whereas if you put two North Pole sides of a magnet together or two South Pole sides of the magnet together, the magnets will actually reject each other. It will feel like an invisible wall of magnetism is stopping them and repelling them away from each other. This is the simple understanding of magnets, which is what Metallica works with. However, the magnetism that Risotto Stand uses seems to only affect iron particles. Iron particles are one of the most common elements in the Earth's crust, and one of the most important particles to exist within the human bloodstream. The iron element exists within protein molecules called hemoglobin, and these molecules exist in every single red blood cell within the human body. Putting it as simply as I can, iron particles are used by the human body to form various necessary molecules in the bloodstream, such as the aforementioned hemoglobin. Hemoglobin molecules also consist of oxygen that are also transported around the body by the red blood cells, so these hemoglobin molecules are extremely important to a human body's survival. Metallica is mainly used by Risotto to manipulate the iron particles within a target's body by the power of magnetism. He can rip these iron particles from the red blood cells, destroying the hemoglobin, and form various larger iron objects such as knives, needles, scissors, or razor blades to destroy the target from the inside. The magnetism continues to affect these larger objects and can be moved up or down the body, and even break out of the body from the inside, creating potentially fatal wounds. The more Risotto does this to an enemy, the more he damages the red blood cells in their body, leaving them devoid of iron and oxygen. When creating wounds in the enemy with iron objects, more blood escapes the body, reducing the iron and oxygen the target has in their body even more. This can easily lead to the opponent becoming easily weakened, blacking out, or even being completely zapped of their oxygen from continued exposure to Metallica's ability. As long as Risotto continues to destroy the target's hemoglobin molecules in big enough bursts continuously, the enemy's body will not be able to replenish the iron and oxygen in their body fast enough, resulting in a potentially slow and torturous death that Risotto can watch. There is approximately 3 to 4 grams worth of iron within an average human body, so there is plenty of iron that he can manipulate within an enemy. Plus, this iron is rapidly regenerated by the body, giving Metallica even more ammunition to create more sharp objects. Iron can also be found within another protein molecule called myoglobin, which is mostly found within muscle tissue and in the heart. As well as iron, myoglobin also consists of oxygen, and it carries it around the muscle tissue. These protein molecules are released into the bloodstream when muscles are injured, and these will also be destroyed when Metallica manipulates the iron inside the target's body, which results in weaker muscle strength during battle on top of the previously mentioned suffocation and blood loss. This magnetism has multiple uses on top of manipulating the iron within the target's body. It can also be used to manipulate iron in the environment around Risotto. Similarly to how the iron in the target's body can be turned into sharp metal objects, iron from the ground and plants can be used in the same way. These objects can then be launched with negative magnetism towards an enemy at high speed. These objects can also be affected by positive magnetism to draw the iron object closer to Risotto's body, which he can then wield as a weapon. Also, even though these weapons are formed using a stand ability, the iron used from the environment or a human body is actually physical iron particles. Once fused together, they are still objects made from everyday iron particles, therefore they can be seen and wielded by enemies and non-stand users. A lot of the time, a stand's ability cannot be used on the user. However, Metallica ignores this and can also manipulate the iron inside Risotto's own body. He can fuse the iron particles inside his own red blood cells to create metal staples that can be used to staple his limbs back together or to close wounds. Risotto can also use his magnetism to draw in iron particles from the ground and surrounding environment, and then he covers himself with these iron particles from top to bottom. The light from the sun and the surrounding area is then reflected off the iron particles covering Risotto, which will then blend him in with the surrounding environment. This allows Risotto to appear invisible, which lets him stay hidden whilst being able to manipulate the iron in a target, succeeding in a tragic assassination for the target whilst Risotto stays completely invisible. This light reflection also affects Risotto's blood, resulting in his blood becoming invisible when it splashes out of his body. This stand manifested in Risotto at age 21 due to assassinating a target in the past and joining the underground crime ring. Once this stand had manifested, he joined the Italian Mafia where he made use of this ability to help the boss, until they went head to head. That was a lot of information to take in, but now let's move on to what I think are Metallica's strengths and weaknesses. First off, since the very small stand units reside within Risotto's body, they cannot be seen by the enemy and therefore cannot be directly attacked separately to Risotto. Usually, if the stand is attacked, the user takes damage in the same way as the stand. However, if Metallica cannot be seen and manifests inside the user's body, the units cannot become targets of a direct attack, meaning that the enemy must target Risotto and only Risotto. Another strength is that Metallica can use its ability on every single human being Risotto comes up against, due to iron particles being present in every human body. Some consist of less than others, which may result in less objects being able to be made. However, Risotto can still zap all oxygen from the body, resulting in suffocation. If Risotto hides himself by covering himself with iron particles and reflecting light, he can sneak up on a target and bust out metal objects from inside them without anyone ever knowing what happened. These strengths mixed with the stand's technique and Risotto's intelligence makes it the perfect stand for assassination as well as defense. Metallica would only really be weak to a few stands. One of them, which was used as an example in part 5, is Aerosmith. Narancha's stand detects the carbon dioxide in the vicinity, which would see through Risotto's invisibility. Also, the 5 to 10 meter range of Metallica limits the use of the stand. Risotto would have to get close to an enemy to be able to begin affecting them with the effects of Metallica, which puts him at a greater risk of being spotted, even if he has covered himself in iron particles to stay hidden. Other than those weaknesses, I would say Metallica is one of the strongest stands in the whole of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and although it has some drawbacks, it could easily assassinate any living being that Risotto wanted, making it a very strong force to be reckoned with. For my final thoughts, I'd like to say first of all that I think of Risotto as one of my favourite characters in all of JoJo. His fight with Doppio was one of my favourite fights in all of JoJo, but unfortunately we didn't get to see much of him. His stand complements him very well and is the perfect stand for him as it matches his nature for assassination. Since Metallica is very strong, it was perfect to make Risotto the leader of the assassination team. Even when they split apart from the Italian Mafia, it did not reduce Risotto's coolness factor nor hinder his character in any way. In actuality, the fact he was the head of the third-party group in Golden Wind, which was out to kidnap Trish, was a fun and tense fact, making it different to other parts which normally consist of the protagonist's team versus the antagonist's team. I really enjoyed Metallica as the concept was quite unique, plus it created a really tense but also kinda gross fight at times. When I saw Doppio spitting up razor blades, it made me cringe and clutch at my own throat. I don't think there are many stands that could defeat Risotto and his stand Metallica, but I think stands that can search out enemies, stands that can manipulate time, and stands that can change the general construction of a human body, such as Little Feet being able to shrink an enemy's body, would be able to make an impact on Risotto, though I feel he would still put up a very good fight. That about does it for this science-filled stand analysis on Metallica. Honestly, I'm no science whiz, and most of this information I got from online research making this script, so if anyone does have any corrections or any points to add, feel free to pop them in the comments below. Because even though I am analysing these stands, I'm not perfect by any means. Not every aspect of a stand is explained by Araki fully, so some information is often left open to interpretation by the readers. Therefore, some of my explanations are down to my own interpretations of the stands, and also by researching science to determine results that I would deem accurate to what Araki had intended. What did you think of Metallica? Can you think of any more potential weaknesses that Risotto's stand might suffer from that I didn't already mention? If so, let me know down below in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video, then please consider subscribing to the channel for future JoJo content. Also, please hit that like button on this video if you want to see more stand analysis videos. To get notified when I release the next video, hit that bell and you'll be notified when I release another one. I appreciate you taking the time watching this video, but until next time, Bizarre Star Platinum, out.